For more on the rescue and recovery operations, let's turn to Matt Sams. He's a Swiftwater rescue instructor and water rescue technician. Matt, what went so horribly wrong in Central Texas? Over 91 people have lost their lives. Explain to me, what was your reaction when you first heard about this horrific flash flooding?
Obviously, the scope of the tragedy is unbelievable. Over 90 people reported dead now. So, yeah, you can't plan for 20 inches of rain. You can watch the weather, you can be prepared as far as, having an exit plan and all that kind of stuff. But, man, 20 inches of rain, it's hard to deal with that when it's coming in that much. I mean, it's 30 feet, the river rose up to 30 feet in an hour. I mean, that's unbelievable. That's almost something that you cannot handle,
In your job, what is the first thing you and your team would do in a situation like this when you're dispatched to Central Texas to be involved? And obviously, I'm talking hypotheticals here. What's the first thing you have to take into consideration?
Well, I mean, changing conditions, when you have a situation like that, when the river is coming up that rapidly, you need to really have your head on a swivel. You've got so much debris moving around in that sort of situation that, it is hard to be 100% ready for it. We would definitely want to know all the logistics as far as, what's going on with the rest of the weather, who needs the assets the best. At that point, you're scrambling to figure out the information, and the information is changing nonstop. So it is very challenging to be a Swiftwater technician in those situations. You're hoping for the best, you're relying on your training, and hoping that you have the assets available. Unfortunately, 75% of Texas is covered by volunteers. There's not somebody sitting in a firehouse waiting for that. And those funds for those volunteers a lot of times just aren't there. So the training is hard to get. The assets are hard to acquire. So, for me, what we like to see is now all these actions causing the community to respond and help fund these volunteers that need the service and need the help.
So let's talk about the warning system. There's been a lot of discussion and debate if people in this communities, I should say, got plenty of warning and any kind of emergency alerts on their phone. A lot of people were asleep at the time when these waters came rushing through. By the time people get those warnings, let's say some people did, is there even enough time to safely get out? And if you do get out, there's people in some situations that got stranded in their cars. The cars were flooded and rescue teams had to pluck them to safety from their vehicles. So what is the right thing to do in these situations?
Having a plan is the best thing. There's not, it's situational. 20 inches of rain, even if you have an escape plan, even if you know what your high ground route is to get yourself to safe high ground, that can all change. Roadways wash away. If you're in a low-lying area and you saw this storm coming, you kind of have to step up and say, all right, warning means that it's coming. A watch means it's possible. If it's imminent, you kind of have to know those things. Weather is so fickle. I mean, that storm collided with another storm and stopped. You can't really predict that. It's very challenging to know that that's going to happen.
But Matt, what happens if people don't get the appropriate warning? If people don't get those emergency alerts, then what?
Yeah, then we're in trouble. The system, so I'm not an expert in Kern County. I don't know that much about it. I know what I've been told. They have admitted that they don't have a very robust warning system there. So, if you're not paying attention to the National Weather Service, I mean, the camp counselor said they got the text from the National Weather Service telling them. But, at that point it was, you need to seek higher ground now. Well, now is too late. You need to be ahead of the schedule. So it is very challenging. If the information's not available, then yeah, you have to do due diligence and try to watch the weather as best you can. But again, this was a freak thing, but unfortunately, the weather is changing so much now that the 100-year storms come every 10 years.
Yeah,
so
the mayor of let me just tell you what the mayor of Kerrville said. He said he did not receive a warning about the torrential rainfall. So regardless, putting that aside, talk about lessons learned here. What can we take away from this disaster to make sure it doesn't happen again? Because this, in fact, did happen back in 1987, and 10 teens at a summer camp were killed back then after flash flooding in that same community.
Yep. No, I'm aware of that situation as well. And yeah, it's tragedy sometimes is the lead. And unfortunately, sometimes politicians step in and decide that the money is not better spent or not spent best in that manner. And we can use these assets to do something else. You know, as a community, you know, as a volunteer firefighter myself, you know, I give back. I give as much as I can, you know, because this is my community. I'm helping the people that are around me. You have to do the same thing for yourself. You know, you have to help fund your community and be involved. You know, these situations happen.
Yes, they do. But you would also hope that the alert system and emergency response works the way it should. We're going to leave it there. Matt Sams, thank you so much.